If you clicked on this video, there's a good chance you already know the feeling. 1 minute, you're chilling, and the next you are slamming your desk, cursing, maybe even throwing your controller on the ground. Shooting games are supposed to be fun, but for many of us, they've turned into these cortisol-spiking landmines that hijack our nervous systems and scramble our emotions. I've been there way too many times, and honestly, I wish someone had told me what I'm about to tell you. There are real, practical ways to stop losing your cool and actually enjoy these games again. Today, I'm going to show you the exact strategies that turn shooters from rage traps into something I genuinely look forward to playing. The main problem is that much of our circuitry is pretty ancient. Our brains are old. Our nervous systems are old. So even when we have the best intentions, we can't control what we feel when the same tank blasts us into oblivion 4 times in a row.
You're joking me. You're joking me.
Our bodies have evolved over the course of history to deal with threats and maximize our chances of survival, which has served us pretty well for a long time. But evolution has not yet caught up to the concept of the virtual combat simulators that we all love to subject ourselves to. If you've ever wondered why your heart starts pounding like a kick drum when you're in a tense situation, even though it's a recreational video game, that's why. Some parts of our brain just don't fully understand that it's play. And when things don't go according to plan, we often fall back on our instincts and react with raw emotion. So what do we do about this? I found that there are 2 main vectors we can use to address this challenge, and you can think about them like branches on a skill tree. The first branch is behavioral tuning. This is about taking concrete actions to shape your environment and your habits to keep both body and brain calm. And the second branch is mindset mastery. These skills are about improving how your brain interprets the game, the beliefs, the expectations, and the emotional tendencies that either set you up for a good time or inevitably trigger you. By honing the skills in each of these branches, you can dramatically change your relationship with shooting games. The goal is for you to play the game, instead of letting the game play you. Kicking things off in the behavioral tree, I want to first talk about a skill that will pay dividends for the rest of your life. If you only take one thing from this entire video, let it be this technique. I mentioned that our brains can't fully comprehend this idea of simulated combat. Well, it turns out there are some ways we can reassure it that our life isn't actually in danger. This nervous system reset can be done in seconds, and the best part is that you already know how to do it, because all it takes is a couple breathing exercises. There are many variations out there, but I'll just quickly share my 2 favorites. First is the appropriately named double barrel breathing. Inhale through your nose, and then take a second elongated inhale immediately after. Once your lungs are fully expanded, exhale deeply through your mouth. The other one I like is 4-7-8 breathing. Simply breathe in through your nose for 4 seconds, hold your breath for 7, and then exhale through your mouth for 8. Regardless of the situation, whether it's in a competitive shooter or real life, you can whip out these breathing exercises anytime you're feeling stressed, angry, anxious, frustrated, you name it. Take my word for it, these work wonders for calming your nervous system. In the second node, we have the break rule. This is a super easy habit to build that can prevent your mood from flying off the rails after a bad round. The core idea is that you set a rule for yourself, which dictates when you have to take a break from the game you're playing. The breaks don't have to be long either. Even 20 or 30 seconds of intentionally stepping away is enough to interrupt the negative patterns you may be predisposed to. For any game type with respawns like most Battlefield or COD modes, you could set a rule where if you die 3 times in a row, you force yourself to stand up, take a stretch, and maybe do a quick breathing exercise. Or for longer run-based games like an extraction shooter or battle royale, you could commit to at least 1 minute away from the screen in between each round. It doesn't sound like much, but it gives us just enough space to reset. The third skill in the behavioral branch is the playstyle shuffle. This one's for all the stubborn players out there who would rather get lit up for 20 minutes straight trying to run a shotgun on a wide open map than simply change their loadout. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of determination, but if you often find yourself locking into a specific kit, weapon, or playstyle even when it's not working for you, then it's probably time to get more comfortable with switching things up. To cure yourself of that tunnel vision, there are a couple really simple approaches. If you're playing a game with any kind of challenges, like daily or weekly missions, these are often designed to get you to play the game in different ways. Or if you're not a fan of the official challenges or they're not in the game, you can always make up your own. Maybe your aim sucks today, so you decide to go medic in Battlefield and play a couple pacifist runs where you aren't allowed to fire your weapon. Get creative with it, and you'll be shocked at how much fun it can be to shuffle up your playstyles. Node 4 is a hidden gem that I'm surprised more people don't take advantage of. In fact, I made an entire video about it because it had such a distinct effect on how I play certain games. The idea is to configure the soundscape in the game you're playing to better fit your desired state of mind. In most shooting games, the default soundtrack and all the sound effects are designed to keep your blood pumping and your adrenaline flowing. Sometimes that's exactly what you want, but other times you may still want to enjoy the game without frying your nerves via audio stimulation. I'm sure you all know that you can go into the audio settings in most games and turn down effect volume and music volume. This can definitely help, but I like to take it one step further. Mute the music and play an entirely different soundtrack through my headphones or my speakers alongside the rest of the game audio. This way, I can choose a chilled out playlist or borrow a soundtrack from a less intense game, and it does an incredible job at putting me into a more relaxed state. The last skill in the behavioral branch is a habit that takes a little bit of practice to build, but it can transform your outlook in moments that used to drive you crazy. A micro reframe is a tiny mental shift that we can deploy in reaction to something that just happened to us. Let's say you're loaded up with a mega haul of loot in Arc Raiders, and you're headed toward the extraction point, but just as you're about to make it home free, an enemy comes out of nowhere and blows you to pieces. Your natural reaction to that moment might be, "What the fuck? That's bullshit." But a micro reframe would switch that to, "Okay, why did that happen? And what can I do next time to prevent it?" This allows you to take the frustration that you may have instinctually felt and reroute it into curiosity. A mantra you can adopt is to play games like you're a scientist. When the experiment fails, you take notes and think about what you can change in the next one. Not only can this reframing sidestep the pain, but it also puts you in a better position to succeed on future runs. All right, now that we've covered the behavioral branch, it's time to talk about mindset. First up is the enjoyment pact. You remember that weird blood oath you took with your best friend in 4th grade? Similar concept here, except we're making a commitment to ourselves. This contract is the foundation of the mindset branch, and it goes like this. Whenever you sit down to play a competitive shooter, tell yourself out loud that you're choosing to play this game because you want to enjoy it. Then grant yourself unequivocal authority to stop playing that game at any point if you aren't actually enjoying it. To make this even more effective, I like to establish a quick fallback plan before I jump in. This can be anything that's not super competitive, a different game, a book, or maybe a show that you engage with if your enjoyment in the shooter is not being satisfied. By explicitly giving yourself that permission to abort, you make it much easier to pull yourself away from an experience that isn't serving you. Skill number 2 in the mindset branch is called the expectation lock. Our expectations can have massive implications for how we actually react to an experience. I'm sure you've heard someone in your life say that the easiest way to stay happy is to just lower your expectations for everything. Well, when it comes to shooters, we can often get caught up in our own expectations. A trap I fall into constantly is to assume that my performance in one match will seamlessly carry over into the following match, and that frequently does not happen. When we're expecting better results from ourselves, it puts unnecessary stress on our play. So what I've been trying to do lately is to lock in my expectations. I know that most competitive shooters are chaotic and random. There's so many variables: your teammates, your enemies, the servers, your reflexes in that moment. By locking the expectation that things won't go the way my brain predicts, I save myself from getting tied up in my own assumptions. In the third node, we have outcome unhooking. If you have a strong competitive drive, it can be extremely tempting to invest all of your emotions into the final outcome of whatever game you're playing. You see the match as having a singular state of either success or failure. If your team loses the game, you failed. If you end the round with a negative KD, you failed. If you get ambushed by a squad and eliminated, you failed. Outcomes matter, but they matter way less than people think. Remember, if we took the enjoyment pact, that's what we're trying to optimize for. When you're able to unhook your mentality away from the outcomes you're seeking, you quickly realize that 90% of the fun in shooters comes moment to moment. If your internet cuts out right before the end of a match, the enjoyment you experienced to that point doesn't vanish. It happened. And by focusing on that, we can learn to savor it. Skill number 4 is what I've been working on the most recently. This is a similar concept to the micro reframe, but it's more about training that immediate reaction, the thing you feel right after experiencing something in a game. At some point, I had this realization that the exact same moments that cause me anger in shooters could just as easily be laughed at.
Oh, we were trying to melt each other.
It's kind of obvious when you think about it. We've all laughed at other people when frustrating things happen to them in games. But why do we laugh? Well, part of it is because whatever happened was probably unexpected. Or maybe it was exactly to be expected and the player did nothing to prevent it. But the other part is that when someone gets upset over pixels on a screen, that's funny, because as a third party, we can objectively see how ridiculous that behavior is. So why not train ourselves to react with laughter, even when the thing happens to us? The first stage of this is laughing at yourself for how upset you normally get. And I guarantee the more you're able to do that, the more you'll be able to find the genuine humor in unfortunate things that happen to you in a game.
Whoa, what? No fucking way. Oh no.
Last up on the mindset branch, we have a skill that deals with how we define ourselves. Sometimes when we explode after a fumbled encounter in a shooting game, we carelessly fall into the trap of altering our own self-image. Often it sounds something like, "I fucking suck." But what happens when we say that to ourselves? Effectively, we're assigning a general trait to our whole identity. The truth is that one death, or one bad night, or even one bad month in a video game does not define who we are. Performance in competitive games will always fluctuate, always. So we have to learn to decouple our shortcomings in these recreational experiences from our identities as actual human beings who have lives outside of video games. The more we can maintain that separation, the better we'll be at keeping our cool, even in the most disastrous of gameplay moments. If you can master these skills, here's my promise to you. You'll have more fun when you're playing well, more fun when you're playing like shit. And as an added bonus, anyone else you play with is also gonna have a better time. Because while we might laugh at the occasional freak out, nobody wants to party up with a player who is constantly getting triggered.
I see
I targeted this video at shooting games, mostly because I've been playing a lot of them recently. But as I'm sure you've probably realized, many of these skills can be applied to any competitive game, even single-player titles. And some of the skills you can take beyond the screen into your real life. If you have any other strategies that have helped you keep your cool in competitive games, I would love to hear those down in the comment section. As always, if you learned something today or you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like on the way out. And I will see you guys in the next one.